Welcome to Inspire Me with Jay, a podcast focusing on meditation, the near-death experience, and all things spiritual. Hello, this is Jay Spillers with Inspire Me with Jay. We got part 2 today with Emma Underwood. She's talking about the heart activation meditation, and she's going to actually lead us through the process of a meditation. Did you want to lead us through the meditation, Emma?
Sure. Yeah, that's brilliant. I'll pop a bit of music on because I always find that just sort of fills the gaps for people sometimes. So I've got some ready here. So just start by getting in a nice comfortable position. You want a straight spine, a strong back, shoulders back but relaxed. And just settle in. And if you want to close your eyes, you can close your eyes. And for the next few moments, just concentrate on my voice. Just concentrate on the words that I'm going to say. There may be a lot of sounds inside and outside of the room that can distract you, and that's absolutely fine. Just let them come and let them go, and just bring your focus and your concentration back to my voice. And again, if your mind wanders, that's also fine. You don't want to put up any resistance. Just let your thoughts come and let them go. And just bring your concentration back to this moment. Be fully inside of this experience, absorbing everything that's going on. And we're going to begin by taking your right hand and bringing it to your chest, just slightly to the left, so that it's covering your heart. And I want you to try and keep your hand here while you breathe, but if your hand wants to move or your body wants to move, that's fine. Again, you don't want to be putting up any resistance, anything your body wants to do. Just bring your focus back, bring your hand back to your heart, and just keep it here. And begin by taking some nice, deep breaths. Just in a comfortable rhythm for you, not forcing any air in or out. Just some nice, deep, comfortable breaths. And as you do so, I want you to begin to visualize, imagine, or just be aware of the sensation of the breath passing in through the heart. So with every inhale, feel it drawing in through your heart. And then on the exhale, just visualize and imagine that breath physically passing out through your heart. So with each breath in, physically feel the breath moving in through your heart, and again on the exhale, physically feeling that breath pass out through your heart. And as you settle into this nice rhythm, just listening to my voice, listening to what I'm saying to you, as you start to relax. And with each inhale, feeling more and more relaxed, chilled feelings. Breathing in, so that feeling is passing in through your heart and it moves into your bloodstream. And your heart is pumping that blood full of oxygen all around your body. And in doing so, every single part of your body is beginning to relax. And on the exhale, you're breathing out all the stresses and tensions from your body. Just letting them disappear off out into the atmosphere. And they're vaporizing, so they're gone. So every deep, relaxing breath is passing in through your heart and into your bloodstream. Getting pumped around your body with the blood and the oxygen. Getting pumped around your body, letting every part of your body relax. And with every exhale, you're letting go of all the stresses and tensions inside. As you breathe them out and they disappear. So as you breathe in through the heart and as you breathe out through the heart, you let go. So breathing in and breathing out. And breathing in and breathing out. And breathing in and breathing out. And keep that rhythm going, feeling every breath through your heart. And as you do so, I'm going to explain what's happening between your heart and your brain. The more relaxed you become, the more in tune the pulses from your heart and your brain become. Calm, focused, and controlled. True and full alignment. The heart and the brain have become fully aligned, bringing more clarity and truth. Your heart always tells you the truth, and coming into your heart with your breath and your awareness, it aligns your energy and brings clarity of thought. And whilst inside this realignment with an open heart, I want you to consider for a moment two things that you have in your life right now that bring you gratitude and that you're grateful for. And they can be as big or as little as you wish. Every day I'm grateful to be able to regain the control over my breathing. Every day I'm grateful to be able to open my heart and realign my energy centers. And every day I'm grateful for my breath and the power of healing through the breath. And I'm always grateful to be able to be with you sharing this meditation. And what two things are you grateful for? And as you consider this gratitude, have a think about how grateful it makes you feel. And is it just a little grateful? Or a lot grateful? And what I try to do and what I want you to try and do is build this energy of gratitude up and visualize it as a white ball of crystalline light. And with every inhale, this ball is getting bigger and bigger and brighter and brighter. this healing white crystalline light of gratitude energy grows with every inhale. And now, with every inhale, I want you to draw this white crystalline light down into your energy field so it makes a protective shield around you. And with every inhale, this protective shield grows brighter and whiter, this white crystalline light. And now, with every inhale, I want you to connect down to the center of the earth. So on every inhale, visualize this white crystalline light, connecting your protective energy shield down to the center of the earth. And so as you breathe in, this flow of gratitude energy is bonding and strengthening your connection with the earth. And now, as you breathe in, just begin to imagine sending that white crystalline light out into the areas of the world that need it most. Into the hearts of those that for whatever reason don't have an opportunity to feel gratitude in their life right now. And with every inhale, fill up that darkness, fill up the voids with this healing white crystalline light of gratitude energy. As you cleanse and clear the darkness and you break through the density, as you're strengthened and protected and bonded with earth, and we're sharing this energy in love and kindness. Sending it out to those people and those places, healing them, protecting them, and sharing this energy with them. And just spend a moment absorbing all of that loving kindness, gratitude with every inhale. And let it resonate and let it settle within and without. And when you're ready and in your own time, you can bring your hand down from your heart and place it on your knee or in your lap or anywhere that's comfortable for you. And you can begin to bring your breathing back to normal as we ground back here in the third dimension. Feel the floor beneath your feet or your body or the chair beneath you. And you can open your eyes and focus on two things you hadn't noticed before to bring yourself back into the room, grounding back in this now moment. So I've been doing this particular meditation every day for a couple of months now, and I just can immediately switch off any negativity with it. And I find that it's something that you can fit into 10 minutes, a break, a moment. You can do it anywhere because although I do guide through it, it is something that is very individual. You're breathing into your heart, you're focusing on healing white light, and you're sharing it out from your energy field. So it's protecting you, it's healing you and cleansing you, and it's also sharing that healing energy and sending it out. And I started doing these meditations. They're actually part of what I include when I do my emotional freedom treatments, which is the tapping treatments. I offer that as part of my packages that I do for my therapies. So I use this quick 10-minute heart activation meditation to help people relax before they're about to go into tapping routines or recipes. And I was listening to one of the ladies that I follow, the astrologer, Pam Gregory, and she was talking about the Heart Mass Institute that do a lot of research into heart meditations, exclusively into heart meditations. And they've got a website. If you just Google Heart Mass Institute, you can look into all the research and they do. And the studies have proven, because they obviously have all the equipment to take the measurements and to analyze the scientific data. They measured the level of photons that were being emitted from the heart before a heart activation meditation and after. I think for the purpose of their studies, they did a 20-minute meditation. And the increase in the photons that are being emitted from the heart would just, I can't remember the figures off the top of my head, but it was really significant. And so if you think about that, and on the last interview that we did, I talked about the light healing meditations. Even though you're just going through a visualization of it, because you've slowed your breathing down and you've slowed your heart rate down, and you've entered a new level, a new energy level, you've raised your vibration, so you're beginning to shift the dimensions. Your light body has the ability, with intention and with setting intention, and also like invoking in, so you have to allow the light in. You are able to absorb all of the light codes, all of the energy that's exclusive to you, to healing you and to helping you, and you draw it into your light body. And then when you come back down into the third dimension, you bring that healing with you. So you are then benefiting your physical body. And obviously there's a lot of science behind how meditation can help your physical body. But there's not so much research. There is becoming more and more about the light work. So what you're doing inside of that space energetically, and then you're bringing it down with you. And in some of the meditations that I've been doing, that I've been sort of guiding people through in some of the sessions that I hold, I've been really focusing on that, because I find that even if somebody struggles to visualize, or even if somebody is new to meditation and it's quite a sort of big concept to suddenly understand, the fact that they're turning up and they're giving their permission to themselves, because that's the guided meditation. It is a guided meditation, but it's the sort of person themselves, the individual, that's allowing the light in and allowing their higher self and their light team to sort of do the healing. Even just by showing up and being inside of that energy field and listening to the words that I'm saying, they are going through a shift, and they are doing healing, you know, they are letting that energy in, and it's incredible. And again, on the last interview, I talked a bit about connecting with galactic teams and light teams. It is, I mean, it's not new to me. I have been following meditations like that for a while, but recently I've been intuitively feeling that that's the direction that I need to go in myself. So that's the sort of journey that I'm on at the moment, is this light healing, but this also like surrendering to my light team. You know, we've all got our own unique support network that aren't in the physical dimension, and they're different for everybody. And by beginning to build that relationship and focus more on intuitively connecting and listening to them and letting them help you, it's a really lovely healing journey. And I'm just so excited that I've reached a point in my life, but also I've heard other people talking about this and working with this. So it's all very exciting. And again, it's connecting that that healing work. So obviously physically, mentally, emotionally, energetically, you know, we need to sort of build the gaps for the healing journey for people. And I think the light work is brilliant. And also the energy that's going on in the galaxy, with the sun at the moment, you know, it's all really, really high energy stuff. And it can be really overwhelming, because especially if people don't know what it is, it can make you feel anxious, it can make you feel stressed, because it's so sort of intense. And if you lack the understanding of that, it can overwhelm you. So being able to calm yourself and allow the energies to sort of do the work that they need to do. Again, even in just like a little 10-minute meditation, it's a brilliant way, yeah, to sort of just accept it and let it in.
Well, I remember hearing someone was talking on a meditation video on YouTube about when you put your hand on your heart, it releases positive things in your brain, because she was talking about putting your hand on your heart every morning and saying a positive affirmation in the mirror. So I had heard about putting your hand on your heart was helpful.
Yeah, and I mean, yeah, because we forget. It's so easy to forget that we are, you know, we're physical bodies, and there's so much going on inside. And actions like putting your hand on your heart, bringing your awareness to your heart. I mean, your heart is your main energy center. We all sort of are so busy in our minds and in our mental state, we forget that our heart is the energy center. We can think and act from the heart, and every decision we made, before we sort of committed to that, if we took a moment to remember that our heart is where the truth is, we probably all wouldn't make the same decisions. But that's part of the lesson. So, and that's moving forward. The next meditation that I want to work on will be to do with the sacred space of the heart, which again, I mentioned that on the last interview. It's something that I learned through John Vlo Melchizedek. And obviously his meditation is very exclusive to what he teaches. So what I'm doing is I'm just helping people who are a bit more sort of new to meditation to go inside, you know, to find out what their truth is. And again, the lovely thing about guided meditations is we all go on this journey, but it'll be completely different for everybody in the room, because that is the beauty of, you know, the souls. Everyone's been through something completely different, and therefore the visualization is always so unique. And one of the things I love most about doing group session meditation is the sort of the chat after, discussing what we saw, what we felt, seeing if anything resonated. You know, it's almost like a little magic trick, because you never know what people are going to say, and you never know how people are going to connect, and it's fascinating. But yeah, you know, meditation is like having a massage for your energy, and it's really interesting actually, because I've got a lot of people around me who aren't necessarily into meditating, but what they always say is, oh, it would be so nice, I just wish I had the time. And then even if I say, well, why don't you just do a 10-minute heart activation meditation, they kind of go, oh yeah, but, and it's just, I think if you're not ready, you're not ready. That's absolutely fine. But don't kind of kid yourself that you don't have time, because you do have time, you just have choices. And also I think some people aren't ready to face that inner world, because it can be really overwhelming. And I remember when I first started meditating, I didn't even know about guided meditations or anything. You know, when I first started meditating, you were counting breaths, you were like thinking about your arm or thinking about your leg. And maybe that was just sort of more naively at the time. But you see, even the internet back in early 2000s, it wasn't like full of all the things, all the magical things it is now. You know, you had to still go to libraries and do a lot more research. And so it's amazing that yeah, that, you know, we've just got so much more choice. But again, people aren't necessarily ready for it. And yeah, just simple things like thinking about how hard your body is working every day. It's a miracle to be alive. And then there's the macro micro element of it, you know. So, and that's another thing about the sacred space in the heart, because you're going on this sort of galactic journey, but it's inside. It's inside. It's the cosmic universe within you, you know, because that's fascinating. You know, we all sort of know basic chemistry and how, you know, an atom is like basically empty. You know, it's incredible, it's mind-blowing. And we don't give ourselves enough time to ask those questions, you know, those sort of paradoxal, like, where did it all begin? And meditation gives you that opportunity to, I guess what you're doing is you're raising your vibration and you're turning off the stress and you're turning off the analytical mind. And with practice, you're just able to dive really into this new existence. And it's such a nice place to be in. And it's such a loving place. You know, the love that I have through meditation is so incredibly mind-blowing, because we do oneness connections as well, and it just makes me feel a lot more patient and a lot more accepting. I guess that's probably what's changed for me in recent years through meditation. You know, you really, I mean, I'm not saying that I don't have stress. I think it just doesn't last as long, because you know how to switch it off. And you know you can heal yourself. You are the greatest gift you will ever be given, is you. You have all the answers. They're inside. You've just got to find them, you know? And we don't teach that to our children. And that's why I love the Eastern philosophy. And one thing I'd really love to do at some point is create a unique, like, children's meditation or family meditation sessions, so that we're giving that gift back, because it belongs to us. You know, it's like we're all divine beings who've been subjected to this programming, and we, you know, we've sort of, you know, it's been stolen from us, but it's still in there. Finding the keys to unlock it is really what meditation does. And you know, loving your body, being grateful, having gratitude for being on this journey, is amazing. It's such a lovely thing to do. And I just wish more people would give themselves the opportunity to get there. But, you know, everybody will in their own time.
You know, I heard a monk was talking on about meditation, and he's saying a lot of times when you first start meditating, it feels very good and positive, but then you may have a period where it sort of goes down and negative, but it will go back up. And I wonder if a lot of people experience kind of that negative at first, and then they just quit, not knowing that that's just part of the process. It's kind of like if you had a cup and you're dropping water in, and it's cleaning the cup, but it's sort of stirring the dirt up initially, which can be kind of unpleasant. And there can be times where things come out in meditation that aren't always pleasant, but it's all part of the process of healing and growing.
Yeah, that's something. It's funny, because obviously I've been on my own journey, and being human, you kind of presume that everyone knows what you're talking about. Everybody's kind of on a level with you, and so on and so forth. But I think since I've started holding sessions, I've realized that what kind of seems normal to me is completely and utterly hard for someone else to get their head around. And resistance. So sometimes people can come along to a meditation session, especially if they're new to meditation and they've never been before, and they kind of, it's like they're looking for someone to blame. So I've come along to meditation for the first time, and this better be good, because otherwise you're not doing it properly. And it's like I took it right back to the beginning, because I didn't realize I'd have to, but it's true. People will come along, and if they've never meditated before, they have to learn what resistance is. Resistance is the lesson. Resistance is the gift that you're giving yourself. And when you identify a resistance within you, whether it's like, this is boring, I don't like it, or whether you're getting angry, or whether you're, you know, if you're constantly thinking it's somebody else's fault why I can't meditate, that's the gift. So I always begin now my sessions by explaining to people, doing quite a lengthy talk about being observant. So however this makes you feel, make note of it. And then if we do a bit of feedback and we've done like a guided meditation, and somebody will say, oh, I got really confused and we went from here to here, and I will say, you know, what is that saying about yourself? I'm quite good at intuitively helping people. It's a bit like dream analysis, you know, going through the parts that they struggled with, and perhaps explaining the metaphor that's within that. And that's, you know, that is part of the lesson. But yeah, it's so, like, when I first started meditating, I knew it was something I wanted to stick with, but I just thought I was going to really struggle with it. And then through learning and through experiencing things, and I just created my own little way of doing something. And then sadly, I lost my mum, and she passed away in 2018. And to connect with her, I promised myself that I was going to do my little meditation every day, or as much as I possibly could. And since then, because I use a medicine wheel, it's like a smoke ceremony. I work with geometry, crystals, and the elements. And I do a mantra, and I do Reiki as well. So I have Reiki level 2. So I use my Reiki, and it's definitely changed my life. It's definitely made me more intuitive, more open. And it's not that you don't get the challenges. And I think that's the thing with meditation. Find what works for you, and you have to find it. And the way you find it is by looking, you know, which sounds like a really simple thing to say, but you know, don't feel pressured to do what everybody else is doing. And I think since I've begun to sort of share meditation and do guided sessions, I try and keep them different, and I try and offer people something that they might go, that's crazy, or because at least they've experienced it, and at least it's given them new ideas, and it's opened their mind, you know, whether they agree with it or they get on with it or not. It's great to be able to sort of share that. And I think that's how people make decisions of what works for them, is through experiencing lots of different kinds of meditating. It's really important. Yeah, so that's, you know, that's how I've benefited from it, is by listening and trying things, but then putting it in my own unique way. And I think that would be my advice to anybody, really. Because the other thing is when you're following something exclusively, there's the danger of you're entering into that realm of making it really exclusive, and nothing else will work for you. And really, meditation is just a healing journey, and it, you know, it's so open and varied, and there's no right or wrong way. And it's so positive because the vibration's so high. You don't you know, the negativity like gradually creeps out. But like you say, you have like ebbs and flows, and if you don't feel like meditating, you know, don't meditate. But it's just trying to shift that frequency, and whether it's listening to music or reading books or writing, channeling, being in nature, gardening, and it, you know, and it, again, I really do believe the pinnacle of it all is the breath, the breathing, the life energy. Whatever you do that kind of fills you with a nice deep breaths is so important, so important.
Do you think, like with you mentioned like children's meditation, I created like a guided meditation in December. It was kind of a fun Christmas one. Do you think for children, you sort of need to incorporate fun and fantasy with it to a certain extent?
Yeah, definitely. Because my little boy, he's 5, and what I try and do with him is, so first of all, it's kind of trying those mindful games like memory games, kind of exciting ways to help them think about thinking, you know, like help them sort of connecting with being mindful. And children are naturally like that anyway, because they're really inquisitive and they're full of questions, and that's amazing. You know, it's such a shame that when they enter into the sort of structured education system, you know, they switch off that part of their brain that just is infinitely wondrous, because they're drawn into academics and doing well. And then obviously there's loads of really like fun breathing games that you can do with children, and they've got this natural ability to just understand, because obviously I've been focusing on meditation quite a lot recently, and my little boy, he'll just come out and say stuff like, oh, today we read a book about a crystal and I thought my mum would love that because she'd use it for a meditation. And so it's in his awareness zone because I talk about it so much. But yeah, with the guided things, kids love it. I mean, it's just like having a bedtime story. You get all your blankets out and, you know, you feel really comfortable. And in the crossover for hypnotherapy for children, you're using like metaphors, and you're using sort of stories to help children with challenges in their life, whatever the specific problem is. And you can, you know, you can take that and you can use it in guided meditations to give them, you know, especially with children feeling scared, anxiety in children. And because they're so much more open and susceptible to that, to suggestion, because they're children, it's incredible how just giving them that opportunity to, you know, have these stories, these nurturing, nice, with some lovely like music on. I find the children really love the sort of organic, indigenous tribal music, like the flutes or the drumming, you know, with a really lovely story about a soaring eagle. And what I try and do is I'll bring a lot of printouts. So if we're talking about like Native Americans, we'll talk about the story, you know, of their origins, and talk about where they lived in the world and the land and what it must have been like back then. And you know, it's helping them to sort of open their minds, because especially in the Western world, kids watch TV and play computer games, and you know, we have it in our house. It is about balance, but you don't want this sort of younger generation being completely cut off from their own emotions, and you know, understanding where stars are born and all sorts of really beautiful things to share with children, like stories, cosmic stories, galactic stories. I mean, it's all fed through in a lot of films. Disney, obviously, you know, are full of things like that. And you know, it's got its good things and its bad things, really, but that's a whole nother topic. But yeah, I mean, kids they just respond so well to it, and it's so important to start at that age, I think, you know, especially in like group meditations. so that they don't have the stigma that, you know, that can happen, that does happen. I know there's loads of people, especially like in the sort of in the really sort of conditioned masculine, who they might want to go to meditation, but they don't really want to, because, you know, they feel like they just feel like it's not an appropriate thing to do, or they're a little bit nervous about what people might think or say. And it's a shame that exists, but obviously, you know, it does. But to be honest with you, I've had more men than women actually, well, kind of, come along to a lot of the one-on, like the group meditations, which I think is great, because it's definitely a sign that they're seeking for something that's inside, you know, and that's brilliant. I love that. And I've got one gentleman that comes, and he started bringing his dad, who's in his 70s, and I just love it. I think it's great. I really do see a shift happening, and it's really, really lovely to sort of be like physically involved in that, you know.
Mm-hmm. So has anyone commented on benefits they've gotten specifically from the heart activation meditation?
Yes, it always gets a good response actually. And really interestingly, the first one that I did, the first session that I held, was on the Gateway Day, the 22nd of Feb 2022, and I just picked that because I was really excited. I love working with numbers, and I love sort of Gateway Days and things like that. So I wasn't doing a specific meditation to do with that, because I knew as well. I mean, where I am at the moment, I'm in England. I'm sort of up north a little bit more, sort of North Midlands, and the specific area that I've been doing the meditation classes in is like Derbyshire way. So, you know, there's not like a, you know, it's not like in a big city. Like meditation is kind of a new concept for a lot of people, really. So I wasn't going to dive into the, oh, it's a Gateway Day, come along to my session, because I just didn't think people would understand, like would really be absorbed in that, if you get what I mean. Mm-hmm. So, but I just picked that day because I knew it was a good thing for me to do. And and bear in mind the hall that I use for those, it's not very big. So I think if you had like 10 people in there and they all wanted to lie down, it would kind of be full, if you get what I mean. But I like that because it's quite an intimate little place. So I think there was about 8 of us, and we did a bit of feedback. It was a really nice session. And then a couple of weeks later, I had a couple of things happen, and I had to cancel one of my sessions, and I was letting everybody know. And one of the guys that came, I spoke to him on the phone, and he was like, "Oh, please don't stop them." And I was like, "Oh, I'm not going to stop them. I've just like had to temporarily like cancel this one." And he was like, because he said, "I'll tell you something." He said he'd been through a few like sort of traumas and things, and he'd said he'd had this I think it was a pain in his throat and in his ear, like for a really long time, and he'd been to the doctor and all sorts, and it just wouldn't go away. And he said that after he came to the first session and he did the heart activation meditation, when he woke up the next day, it was completely gone. And he probably wouldn't have told me that if I hadn't, you know, sort of, he really didn't want me to stop doing the sessions. And that particular person does come every time, like if he can, unless obviously, and it's really nice. I just think, especially for people who are new to meditation, taking that leap and getting involved, you do notice the benefits, you know, you really, really do. And there's other people who are a bit more resistant. I think some people, again, like I mentioned earlier, they go along to a meditation thinking that, you know, oh, you're going to change my life. Well, no, because it isn't me, it's you. You know, you're going to change your life. But like anything, you have to keep it up, you know, and you have to see the depth of it, the deeper meaning. And it is completely a self-help program. And if you are if some people subconsciously don't want to take any responsibility for themselves, and these people are the ones who usually are never happy because they don't have enough money, or they're not with the right person, or they don't have everything that they want or need. And that is the resistance, because when you let go and you focus on how you can build a better relationship with yourself, everything else just sort of falls away, and everything else kind of falls in place. Obviously, it takes time. It takes commitment, like anything. If you really want to feel better, if you really have a problem physically or mentally, do research into that. There's so many, especially through my hypnotherapy, there's so many treatments for specific problems. And it's fascinating. And I'm hoping with time, I'm going to work on each category that I've been trained on to help people with. And in doing so, I'm using sort of the knowledge that I have already and developing it further, and then kind of explaining it to people. I think people don't always have the information they need for because the body and the mind and the energy field are connected, and obviously the stress response kind of governs it all. But when you break through that and you connect to your subconscious, again, it is more of a complex process, but you can, you focus on that area of your body, whether it be a particular organ, or like your digestive system or your respiratory system. I mean, we can all go to the doctor and we can begin the process of whatever physical help we need, and getting perhaps the medication we need. But in long-term illness, it's not always helping. It's not always solving the problem. So where else do you go, and where else do you turn? And there are other ways. But again, you have to really be open to be healed, because the other thing is, some people are very dependent on being ill. They don't think they are, and they don't feel like they are. But if somebody's been ill for a very long time, and that's going to be taken away from them, they don't know who they are underneath that illness. Or so with energy healing and with helping people on that level, they have to be 100% ready and committed to getting better. But also, I know other stories of people who have done like quantum healing, and they've really sort of got into the depths of someone's subconscious and really been able to sort of take away the energy toxins and the darkness, and people have recovered from things. It is incredible. There's so many stories out there that have been successful and certified. So yeah, it's really sort of, it's a very, very deep, complex topic, but it's something that really does work.
What is the difference between hypnotherapy and meditation? Because they obviously seem very similar, but there are some differences. And which one do you work with more?
Yeah. Well, at the moment, I work more with meditation, because it's something that it's a bit more, you can do it in groups, and you can do it online for free or have sessions. With the hypnotherapy, it's a lot more in depth, and it's a lot more one-on-one, really. You are taking somebody into quite a deep trance state, and therefore, it works better in like more of a sort of conditioned situation. But I think that's, and because with the hypnosis, the client is obviously giving the permission to the therapist to go under, and therefore that starts the process. The other thing that in hypnotherapy is because of the way our brains operate and the way that our subconscious works, everyone's a bit different. So some people respond really well to like visualization. Some people it's sort of like auditory. Some people it's kinesthetic. And the process through hypnotherapy is you get to know your client like very well. So you'd pick up the clues and you would work closely with the client to make sure that the treatments you were giving them were for the best benefit of the client. So you have to do a lot more research, a lot more sort of delving. And the way I would begin the therapy would be with an initial assessment. And this again is quite an in-depth process. So the client would give me all the information regarding the obvious things, like health, medical history, medication. And then I ask a few questions and give a few examples of what I would use in a hypnotherapy script, so that I can then get an understanding of how the client responds to information and how it processes. And there's also like sort of cues in eye movements when they're asked certain questions, and that again, that's quite an in-depth topic, but also would go into a timeline of events. So because sometimes somebody might come along and they just want to give up smoking, or they want to be better at playing golf, but the more thorough you are and the deeper you go, there's usually a reason why that person can't give up smoking, or there's usually a reason why that person isn't performing the way they want to. And again, not a lot of people, not everybody wants, they just want, oh, I want to be better. I want to be better at this. Click your finger. You have to explain that, the healing process, it is really deep. And with hypnotherapy, if you want it to be successful, you have to strip back those layers. And I, as a therapist, I might do like a really nice sort of uplifting energy refresh hypnotherapy. But if somebody really wanted to help with something, I'm quite clear about how deep we have to go into things, because otherwise you're not offering the best service, But again, with hypnotherapy as well, you get to know your therapist. Every therapist is different, and that is important. It's the client therapist relationship. But so once you've established how your client responds, and you're both happy with the sort of agreement, as it were, you then begin the process of taking that person into the hypnosis. And you generally begin with an induction, and then you have like a sort of the kind of post-hypnotic suggestion, and you can go really deep with trances. The longest session you can do, really, sometimes it can be sort of up to 2 hours. And yeah, it's just, again, there's so many different aspects you can explore and you can try, and it's more of a sort of complex process, I guess. With the meditation, you're just sort of offering it out. It's just like more of an open experience. It works on the same basis, because obviously meditation is getting into a trance state, leaving that aspect of your analytical mind to go into that different energy shift and do the healing work. So they do cross over, and that was one thing that really resonated for me when I was doing the hypnotherapy training, because I just thought, well, this to me is like a kind of more in-depth version of the meditations that I've been doing. And it really does, it shares the same purpose. We're trying to heal ourselves. But I think anybody who's had a hypnotherapy session it's much more supportive. So although some people may struggle kind of getting into trance, as a therapist, your job is to go through that, and then, you know, we'd look into ways of going deeper and deeper. And if you're interested in that side of things, there's a brilliant book by Michael Yapko called I think it's called Trance Works, or Deepening Trance. And he obviously is a hypnotherapist. He's done like loads of research. He's really famous, and it's a really interesting topic, that trance state. And some people are really susceptible to it. Some people there's more resistance, and there's loads of different techniques you can use. And I find it thoroughly interesting. But yeah, the difference is with the therapy and the meditation is meditation's a bit more open for everyone to try, whereas the therapy is a bit more exclusive for each individual, and it's a lot deeper, and it's a lot more sort of personal. But overall, it has the same healing benefits. I just think that, I mean, but like with everything, you get people who say, oh, I had hypnotherapy and it didn't work. But it's down to the therapist and the client. You've got to really trust somebody, and you've got to really connect, you know, because with anything in life, you want your therapist to sort of really understand you and resonate. And yeah, so that's a more complex side, I think, for the hypnotherapy.
Well, I guess you could have really long, deep meditative sessions, and we explore specific issues, and they get very close to hypnotherapy within meditation.
Yeah, definitely, because as I say, it's the same connection with the subconscious. And some people are better at it, you know. Like I've got a close friend who's really, like, I love meditating with her or doing a session with her, because she understands, and she's able to get into that energy body, and she's able to sort of get into that trance state. She doesn't need a lot of guidance, and there's no resistance, you know. But yeah, I mean, when you go into sort of, because years ago I used to do lucid dreaming audios, like listen to them, and it's incredible, because that whole astral travel, the quantum field, you know, it is something that exists, and it is something that is there, and we can connect with it at any time. We can travel the universe, we can activate our energy bodies, we can you know, we have the power of telepathy, we can connect to like other beings in other galaxies, in other universes. We just don't think we can, or we're just not encouraged to think we can. And like I say, some people put up more resistance than others. I can sort of shut my eyes, and I can be there, I can go there, I can, you know, I wouldn't say I've never really channeled anything specifically. Well, I say that, but I think we all do to some extent. We just don't realize that's what's happening. I don't have like clairaudience, you know, or clairvoyance, people who can see or hear things, but I know, and I have enough like faith in myself that I really can leave my third dimensional body, and I can travel. And it's a bit similar to doing sometimes a lot of dream work. You're doing quite a lot of fifth dimensional stuff in your dreams, and again, it's a way of traveling out of that part of your mind. When your body is resting, you're off out somewhere, you know, doing a lot of other energy work. Yeah, it's fascinating, really fascinating.
Well, in terms of like, have you ever gone deep into meditation? And years ago, it seemed like you could get answers to questions, and it seemed like it was sort of something outside you, like, was this God? Was this my higher self? But then more recently, it's just more of my own voice coming forward that I can hear sometimes when you get deep into meditation, when you have questions spiritually related or things like that. Have you experienced anything like that?
Yeah, well, I mean, we are in our physical bodies, we are like conduits of light and channeling energy and voices. It's hard to sort of say who the voice is. I mean, to me, that's intuition. I believe we're getting messages all the time, and we just have to figure out which one we filter out and which one we listen to. And I think that becomes easier with time. There's a brilliant book called The Life and Death of Billy Fingers, and it's a true story. Have you heard of it?
Yeah.
It's a true story written by this lady. I forget her name now. What I'll do is, as well, after we finish the interview, I'll send you, all the people that I've talked about, because I'll send you links for like their information, because it's fascinating. But yeah, so she was a GP. She was very successful. She was really good at her job, and she had a brother who was called Billy, and he had a really bad addiction to drugs. They are Americans. She does live in America, and he eventually died through his like troubled life, and he wouldn't accept help or anything. He was quite happy in this sort of addiction life, but obviously he died not young, but before his time, and everyone was really sad about it. And the lady, she decided to leave her job as a GP because she was working all sorts of hours. She was becoming drained by the people and by the environment, and she didn't know what she wanted to do. And so she was sort of in a bit of a dark place, really. So she started meditating, and obviously the story's a bit more in depth, but from nowhere she started to hear her brother talk to her from the other side. And so obviously she went through the whole notion like, oh, I'm going crazy, like, and he just said to her, look, he gave her like loads of stories, like examples. You go to this person's house and you'll see them doing this, and like to prove to her that he was real. It's actually giving me goosebumps talking about it. So eventually she believes him, and he just says to her, look, just write everything down, what I'm going to tell you. Just write a book. So she begins to write everything down, and it's a beautiful story. So again, I don't want to sort of give any spoiler alerts, but he talks about how his soul journey was the last one that he needed to experience to sort of ascend. And what he needed to do, he needed to experience this addiction energy, this experience of being really addicted to drugs or whatever it might be. So he chose this life, and he now was able to ascend. And before he gets to that point, he tells her about what happens when you pass over and where you go. And really interestingly, a lot of the things that he described to her through the book, there's a psychic lady called Sylvia Brown. I don't know if you've heard of her. She's quite famous. I read a book that she wrote about what it's like in heaven, and she would talk about like this great building hall, and obviously like to do with the Akashic records, and then you could go into like this choir room, and there's like all these really angelic voices singing. A lot of the things that he tells her resonated with this book I read by Sylvia Brown. And it's just really lovely because at the end as well, he talks about where he's going next, and basically because he's kind of lived all his lives and he's been able to ascend, he just sort of transcends like into the universe. And it's incredible. It's such a good book, and it goes to show, it's a really nice example of how, connecting with your spirit guides or your angels or your ancestors. I'm always really careful what I say at the meditations that I hold as a group, because I don't want to put people off, because it doesn't have to be, everyone's meditation experience is unique for them, and not everybody, some people want to meditate but they don't believe in angels, and some people want to meditate but they don't, they want it to be more structured, or they want it to be more like third dimensional even, and that's fine. You know, like I said before, even people just showing up is brilliant to me, because they've committed to that, and they've, you know, they're surrendering to that part of themselves. So I try not to be too specific, because I don't know, my audience is going to be really varied, and I don't want to sort of put anyone off. But yes, it's just a really lovely story, and an example of how, you know, if you're really sad, you really miss somebody that's passed, try meditating. You know, like I didn't start doing it more often to connect with my mum, because I could feel her all around me. I've got all of her stuff, all of her energy. I know that she's 100% around me. So I wasn't lost, but I just thought, I don't know particularly why, I just wanted to commit to it. Maybe she was telling me to do that. But yeah, and you can, you know, you can open up, you can listen, you can start maybe not hearing or seeing things, but feeling things, and focusing on developing your intuition, and focusing on something else, you know, that's really good for you. And you've got to sort of give yourself the opportunity to experience it. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, thanks for coming on today. Is there any projects you're working on that you'd like to tell the audience?
Well, I'm still doing the heart activations every day, live on Facebook. Well, I say every day. Like, obviously I am like a working mum, so I do them as often as I can. And I've got a lot of work to do, because I qualified at the beginning of the year, and I'm trying to sort of make everything unique to compassionate therapy. So there's a lot of writing, there's a lot of making things like my own, and I will be promoting it when I'm ready. But one of my lessons at the moment is patience. I'm a Virgo, so I get an idea in my head, and then I want it to be like boom. And then when I realize that 1 week's going to turn into 2 weeks, but I am learning to be patient. So I think that quality is better than quantity. So that is what I'm working on. But yeah, just watch this space. I'm going to be putting it out there more when I've got it all ready. So yeah, I'll let you know.
Yeah, well, thank you.
Thanks for having me.